I'm Peter Milios from the Finance News Network, and today I'm talking with Managing Director Damien Keys from Sunshine Metals. Sunshine Metals has the ASX code SHN and a market cap of around $14 million. Damien, welcome to the network.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. To kick things off, could you give the audience an overview of the company and its projects?
Yeah, Sunshine Metals is a Queensland-based, Queensland-focused explorer. We've been listed since December 2020 with an initial focus on a gold prospect called Triumph. We've put 120,000 ounce resource down there, very shallow. And as we've grown, we've been acquiring land in the Charters Towers Ravenswood district in Queensland. So a really prolific district for gold. Historically, 20 million ounces produced out of the district, and significantly 14 million tonnes worth of base metal and gold VMS ore. And recently we've just acquired the Greater Liontown project, which fits nicely in that Ravenswood district. And that gives us exposure to a 5.5 million tonne base metal and gold resource in that district as well, at about 12% recoverable zinc equivalent. So a nice high-grade resource with big scope to grow that. We've recently been drilling down around the Liontown VMS prospect. We pulled the system apart from a chemical perspective and had a look at the real metal distribution and what makes the system tick. We've been focusing on the gold and copper rich parts of the resource. And we finished last year with a stunning drill intersection of 17 metres at 22.1 grams per tonne gold. So a gold-only hit in a large zinc system. And we see there's certainly been a lot more potential for these gold-rich zones within these VMS systems.
Could you explain why you chose Queensland as the focal point for your operations?
Yeah, I guess I've worked throughout Australia. And Queensland kept coming back to Queensland as a place that companies kind of jet in, do a bit of work. Don't really get embedded in the environment and certainly within the towns, and they shoot back to WA or Sydney or Brisbane or wherever they're based out of. We're based out of Townsville in North Queensland. The Ravenswood Charters Towers district is an hour and a half from our head office. Makes it, we live and breathe our projects. We have great relationships with our pastoralists and landholders and native title groups, and that in its own right makes access to the project a lot simpler. It's one thing having prospective ground. It's another thing being able to access it and do exactly what you want when you need to. We feel like we've got a real competitive advantage in that regard. In terms of the exploration potential itself, well, Queensland's one of these places that exploration's kind of forgotten over the years. The Charters Towers Ravenswood district had its heyday in the 80s and 90s, when there were mines such as Mount Lation, 3.5 to 4 million ounce gold of gold mined out of Mount Lation. Highway Reward was a fantastic copper gold deposit, 4 million tonnes at 5.5% copper and a gram gold. Charters Towers itself was in operation. Ravenswood was just starting to hit its straps and find its feet. So it was a real buzz around the district in the 80s and 90s. And since then, a couple of those mines have closed down. They just ran out of resource. And there hasn't been any real systematic or modern exploration in the district. We see it as an opportunity. We've got a fantastic land holding in the Mount Windsor volcanics especially. And there's companies there that have gone through and done systematic exploration for base metals, but haven't included gold in their exploration suite. So there's lots of gaps in data, but there's a lot of data to drive us into targeting in certain areas. So yeah, great opportunity in Queensland.
Well, hopefully you guys can start a resurgence back in the day like it was in the 80s and 90s. But moving on to your recent announcements, you've had a busy start to the year, particularly this month. Could you talk through some recent news?
as we touched on, it was a chaotic finish to last year with uh, testing a few new concepts, and we generated a stunning drill intersection. So looking at that metal distribution within the Liontown VMS system, and that led us to drill two holes targeting that particular end of the that particular concept, and one of those holes hit 17 at 22, and we enjoyed a nice little price spike off the back of that. The second hole tested what we think is the feeder fault system to the mineralised system, where the fluids would have come through as these systems were laid on a seafloor. That hole intersected 2 metres at 4 grams gold, 4% zinc, and about 0.5% copper. So certainly, and it intersected significant faulting. So we considered both holes a success. And it certainly provided the impetus for the start of the year. So we've gone back and completed another small drill campaign to see if we can extend that gold-rich panel to should be out to dimensions of about 120 by 120 metres. Doesn't sound like much, but this is there's intersections in there other than the 17 at 22, like 8.1 metres at 10.65 grams gold, and another one that's 8 at 11.7 grams gold. So this is a really unusual panel, really rich. So we're testing the extents to that panel and then some of these feeders to these systems. So we think we're on the right track in terms of pinpointing the copper and gold rich parts, going about the exploration to delineate those and see if we can extend resource deeper into the footwall than ever has been defined. So that drilling's been completed, first round, and we're awaiting results on that. And recently, we've just, in the last week or week and a half, we've put out a resource upgrade on Liontown. So when we acquired the project, the project was 3.2 million. That got us just under 5 million tonne of resource, and 2.3 of that was at Liontown. We've upgraded that resource since September when we've had the project. There's been about 108 holes that have been drilled since the last resource was done in 2020, and they've been incorporated. So we've had a significant increase in tonnes, another 500,000 tonnes added to the resource. But importantly, the confidence in that resource has gone from 32% indicated up to about 63% indicated resource, giving that global resource for the district about a 47% indicated component. So we've got a nice high-grade resource that we've got a lot of confidence around.
So firstly, congrats on the Liontown resource announcement. And secondly, could you give us some more colour around the future pathway of the project?
Yeah, so there has been the resource update, and we've got real line of sight on how we grow this resource. The resource at Liontown in its own right is formed from the Liontown deposit and the Liontown East resource, two separate resource blocks. There's a handful of holes between the two resource blocks, mineralised, all mineralised, and we see no reason why we shouldn't be able to extend those two resources to merge. And then further to that, the footwall of the Liontown East resource hasn't been delineated. So we can see a really clear line of sight on how we can rapidly grow this Liontown East system. It'll be a significant VMS system in its own right. Further to that, we're currently completing some geophysics at the moment on a couple of prospects nearby that highway reward copper gold mine. So we're chasing copper gold rich targets at Truncheon and Highway East, and we'll be putting boots on ground at prospects like Tiger Town and Trooper Creek in the next couple of months. So it is an exciting time for exploration. 2024 shapes as being a good year for Sunshine.
Damien Keys, thank you for your time, and we'll be following your progress with interest. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter.